Howdy everyone, my name is Amaya. Today I will be talking about the impact model strategies and how these strategies influence stakeholders. First, let's define impact strategies. From the Josie Bass Handbook, John Thomas defines this strategy as an abstract model of how the various goals of the organization are expected to link to produce the desired result. So you have staff, volunteers, board members, and funders investing in your nonprofit organization. Why is impact important to the organization? Impact strategies can answer the main question, are our efforts making a difference? Are we getting closer to accomplishing the mission? Impact strategies also affect stakeholders, the client, staff, volunteers, and donors. And impact strategies affect the funding of the organization in that donors may be more or less willing to invest in the organization. And as mentioned previously, to ensure that the efforts are accomplishing the mission. The impact model strategies have several different components. At the basis of the model is the mission statement of the organization. It is defined as the intention to make a difference in a person, place, or thing. From the mission statement, the measures can be developed. The measures establish the performance metrics that correspond to the intended impact of the mission. These defined measures are used to indicate the level of accomplishment the mission attains. It is also imperative that these measures are developed that are reliable and represent the intended impact, and not just quantifiable aspects of the organization like the financials or the number of participants. It is also imperative to ensure that the measures represent an impact for each level of the organization and are specific to the level of the organization. And lastly, the organization must obtain data according to the defined measures, and this helps to gain clarity on the current status of the organization. There are several different approaches to program evaluation. The first is the balanced scorecard method. This method was coined by Kaplan and Norton and utilizes the defined measures and quantified data to develop a clear picture of the organization's current impact status. Next is the utilization-focused evaluation. This was developed by Michael Quinn Patton, and this evaluation strives to have a balanced look at, and it takes into consideration both the quantitative and qualitative data. When a balanced evaluation, looking at because mainly the goals of the nonprofit organization are subjective, and he wanted to take those into consideration as well as the objective data. And lastly is the objective scientist approach. This is a more traditional approach to evaluation and strives above all to maintain objectivity. In doing so, it keeps a distance from the organization and utilizes the quantitative data. This approach misses the unique qualitative aspects of the organization that the utilization-focused evaluation takes into consideration. And those qualitative aspects that are subjective bring a lot of value and a lot of uniqueness to many organizations. Also, in the objective scientist approach, it can fail to answer some questions that the utilization-focused and the balanced scorecard method take into consideration. With any impact strategy, there are limitations. Several of the limitations are resources, both time, money, and staff needed to perform and implement the impact strategies. Measuring and collecting data for the wrong outcome and finding that questions still aren't answered. Also, a lack of planning can cause poor resource allocation and the loss or the lack of resources. And lastly, ineffective or no visible leadership when implementing the impact strategies. This is extremely costly, especially because it can hinder the organization staff from wanting to help implement the impact model, and can hinder or even waste resources used that were used when coordinating efforts for this strategy. To see success when implementing the impact model, here are several best practices recommendations. First, conducting evaluations through a combination of both outside consultants and internal staff. And by incorporating internal staff, the staff are more likely to participate in implementing any necessary changes, and this helps to increase the rate of success for the impact strategy. Ensuring the leadership in the organization has quote-unquote bought into the strategy and is being a good role model for the rest of the staff helps to increase staff participation and ultimately the success of the strategy and the impact model. And ensuring that there is a strong and frequent communication between all the stakeholders involved, between the leadership and the staff. The leadership and consultant, the staff and consultant helps to increase the success of the impact model. And ensuring that all the staff within the organization gains clarity on the current status of the mission gap. And mission gap can be defined as the difference between the current status and the goals for attaining the mission. When utilizing resources for this presentation, I came upon Sheehan's impact model, mission impact from his book, and one of the examples in there was the Central Ohio office of the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. When interviewing them, he asked them how they were going to accomplish their mission, and the answers from the interview question were very cohesive, and there was a single-minded focus to all those who were interviewed. And he notes that this cohesiveness brings an increased rate of success to the organization in helping accomplish its mission. So looking now at how and why the impact strategy is important to stakeholders. First of all, funders are increasingly more critical of how they will invest their resources. Impact can show the effectiveness of the organization and bring a level of accountability to their fundraisers. The responsibility to the client and participants that are served by the organization is also another critical part of the impact strategy, and this ensures that they will continue to receive resources and services from the organization. The organization also has a duty to their volunteers, and assessing impact is important in those that give their time and talents and resources to the organization. And lastly, impact strategies are important to the staff and board who are working to utilize the resources for this mission. I briefly just want to introduce you to two organizations that are utilizing the impact model. The first organization is the Cherry Water Organization. Their mission is to bring clean, safe drinking water to the 1 billion people without access to it at this point. Since they started their organization in 2007, they have grown exponentially and have been able to fund over 4,000 projects and bring clean drinking water to over 2 million people. One of their greatest strengths is their 100% pledge model. They pledge that 100% of the funds goes to WELS projects, and they not only pledge this, but they bring the donors proof through utilizing GPS technology and connecting their donors with their clients and participants, and just showing how their impact model brings the stakeholders full circle and really connects everyone together is one of the things I really loved how this organization utilized the impact model. The next organization is the Harlem Children's Zone. This organization strives to create a tipping point in the neighborhood of Harlem, New York, where children are surrounded by an enriching environment of college-oriented peers and supportive adults, in counterweight to the quote-unquote the street and a toxic popular culture that glorifies antisocial behavior. So far, the Harlem Children's Zone has served over 21,000 individuals, and when looking on their website, you can really tell they place a high priority on impact strategies and tracking their impact of each individual that comes through their program. I really loved looking at this organization because of how they emphasized the impact model for the importance of showing their stakeholders, which included the parents, teachers, funders, volunteers, and staff, and the Harlem community, that they were making an impact and they were determined to achieve their mission. I really encourage you to look at both of these organizations if you have a few extra moments in your day and just poke around on their websites, which I've included in the resources section of the presentation, and just see how they are utilizing their impact strategies to connect their the donors with their clients and bringing community to their stakeholders. Here are the references I used for creating my presentation, and I welcome your comments and questions, and just really want to thank you so much for your time and attention.